to Pursue the Pool, the podcast that is geared towards helping people who are looking for a career change or for those who want to pursue their dreams and start their own business. Now, how do we differ from all of the other inspirational podcasts out there? Well, what we do is we interview people from a range of different industries. So if you want to set up your own tech company, your own marketing agency, your own restaurant, whatever it might be, we have someone specific from that industry to tell you how to get started, the highs and lows, and most importantly, the truth. Now, we are one group, one community, and we have all of the answers. I'm your host, Stacey Bevan, and today I have an amazing guest. His name is Giuseppe Baidoo, and he is the owner, the founder and the owner of Gusto Snacks. First of all, thank you so much for joining us, Giuseppe. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so look, before we go into the questions, I just want to tell a little bit about what you do. I just want to give the audience a bit of insight.
Yeah.
So you launched Gusto Snacks from your kitchen in 2018. Now, you initially bootstrapped the business and then eventually raised VC funding. Now, the name Gusto is an Italian word for taste, and it's a sustainable brand that reduces food waste by saving fruits which cannot be sold to supermarkets due to aesthetic reasons, such as the shape and colour, and you turn them into delicious apple crisps. Now, today, your products are available in high street retailers like Selfridges and WHSmith, as well as offices across the UK, including Google, Bloomberg, BlackRock, and more. Now, also, along the way, you've been honoured with awards from organisations such as Shell, Livewire, Santander, NatWest, Black equity organisations, Forbes, Foundervine, Sky, and many more. Now, Gusto Snacks has also been recognised by Virgin as one of the most exciting sustainable startups to watch and ranked amongst the top 100 UK startups. Now, this is amazing. Like, that's a mouthful, but you know,
thank you so much.
It's a mouthful. There's a lot that you've achieved. So I just want to go straight into it, and I want to know about your background. Like, how did this all come about? Did you go to school, college, maybe uni, and then work, or did you go straight into starting this? How did this all come about?
Yeah, so I mean, I never really had the entrepreneur mindset until I came here in the UK. In Italy, although I would say the idea of food waste really started when I was in Italy. I was doing my Italian national service. And during that time, we used to work with the government and go around to retailers, but also farmers, and get the fruit that they can't sell or product that they can't sell. Or maybe, products close to their shelf life. Yeah. And we will redistribute it back to families in need. And that is where I saw at first hand how much food really never gets into our plate and so much of it gets wasted. So at the time I was thinking, okay, maybe one day I will start something to try and tackle this issue.
Yeah.
So when I moved to the UK and I was in college, around, I would say 2018. I was studying product design. And for my final year of studies, I had to do a project. So as a product designer, I was very good in presenting and doing research. So this thing came back to my mind like, oh yeah, I have this experience of saving fruit. So why not research in the UK and understand if there is the same issue here? So I started talking to farmers, food distributors, and I found that there was a big issue out there. And I said, okay, maybe I can try and design something and, whereby I can reduce food waste. So initially I thought about drinks. I did a beautiful design for my final year presentation. And during my final year presentation, someone walked in. Imagine there was a massive room with all the different, students with their project. And this person walked in and saw my project and they were like, oh, wow, this is amazing. Who is doing this? So they directed him to me and he was like, have you already started it? And I'm like, look, actually, I'm a product designer. I'm looking for a job. And he's like, no. Listen, this is an amazing project. Like, do you want to start a business? I said, yeah. And it's like, there is an accelerator that I can take you in. And he was the one running it. And it's like, we're going to teach you how to set up a business. We're going to give you advice and how to. And that is where everything really started. He really took me under his wings and taught me so much about, about the business. And he wasn't really in the food industry. He was more in tech, but he really taught me a lot about how to set up business and how to apply for grants and competition. And that is where everything started, really.
Oh my gosh. So then what happened after you finished that? Did you go into work or did you start pursuing this straight away?
So I was, so that was in college. So when I started that, I was going to uni and I was also running the startup. When I started the drink business, I was actually doing both. Because I didn't really have any investor. It was more of a side hustle.
Yeah.
And I was working night shift as well at the time in Tesco. So imagine in the night, I will be going to do night shift warehouse jobs. And then in the day, I'll be going to university on the side. I was trying to run this startup. It was tough, but I was still able to, and the drink business, I was still able to raise about 30,000 in grants to be able to run it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I would say it was a learning curve for me. It was the first business I launched. A lot of mistakes, a lot of issues as well with my business partners, unfortunately. And then around 2020, I had to shut it down really because it wasn't really working. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So how did you make that initial transition from, because you had a night job, you were studying, how did you make that transition to go full time in the business? Like, how was you able to afford that?
So, with the first business, I wasn't really full time. It was already always a part time. Because it wasn't still mature in a stage for me to fully be on the business. So when I closed it, obviously it was a big learning curve for me. And I will be honest, I was in a dark place when I closed it because it was like I lost 30,000 to 40,000 pounds of, although it wasn't my personal money, it was money that was invested in the business.
Yeah.
And I was very sad because it was my baby. And I was like, I thought this would grow so much.
Yeah.
But then, I remember my sister telling me, God didn't bring you this far just to bring you this far. And that made me understand also that although I failed, but with failing, I got so much knowledge in the food industry. I understood that I can't do this on my own. I needed somebody who was great in sales because me, I'm a marketing person. I have the vision and I have ideas, but when it comes to numbers and maybe sales and finances, I'm not that great. So I realized that I needed somebody who would do that. And also, obviously, this time was different because I had the experience and I understood how the food industry works. So at some point, I decided, okay, maybe right now, it's time for me to bring some people together with me and, get this journey with others and get it going and being able. So I spent about 1 month initially taking a little break, recovering from all the losses and working a bit in the food industry, helping other startups to launch their brands. And then at some point, I said, okay, let's get this going. So funny enough, during that period, I had my business partner.
Yeah.
Now that is my business partner. It's called Claudio. He used to work, he's also Italian Ghanaian. And we used to work at the warehouse together, night shift, and we used to go to college together. So he just called me and said, "Hey, Giuseppe, I saw you doing such an amazing work online. You have this, brand, and I want to learn from you." And I'm like, "Which brand? I've already closed it down, And it's like, exactly, I'm like, that one is gone. I've already closed it down. What are you talking about? And he's like, oh, so what are you doing now? Like, I thought you have made it. I said, man, you can't imagine the stress behind this. And he's like, yeah, but I want to learn a bit from you. I want you to mentor me because I want to get into, business. And I said, look, I have this idea that I'm about to launch. I don't have a name for it yet, but, it's to do with dried fruits and saving fruits and all of that. And he's like, oh, he wanted me. He said, just bring me in. I just want to learn. And I said, no, what do you do right now? And he said he's into sales. So I said, oh, that is what I need. You know what I mean? So I said, okay, look, this is what we're going to do. You come on board, learn a bit, but I want you to be my partner. Let's start this afresh. So I remember I wanted him to really to be himself. I gave him some shares because I wanted him to really to be part of the business. So I gave him some shares. We became partners. Then I asked him, because I've already designed the packaging, I asked him, how would you call this? Like, you give it the name, because obviously I've designed the packaging, so I want you to feel part of the journey. Yeah. And after a few days, he came back and he said, Gusto. And I said, okay, let's go with Gusto. So that is when the journey started with Gusto Snacks. And, we started in our kitchen. And now I will explain a bit of the transition between how we started from our kitchen to then getting into, full time. Initially, we tested in our local supermarket. Our local market. So we bought a drying machine, food drying machine, for about £50. And then we would dry the stuff in our kitchen and then pack them and take them to our local market and test it around. Yeah. And then initially, people really didn't understand what we were doing because we had apple crisps with chocolate, apple crisps with, peanuts, chili. People were saying, what is this? So people were even spitting it because they're like, this is something that, they have never tried it before. But we were not discouraged because we thought, the people that were spitting the product, they were very honest with us. So we actually took their contacts, and most of them still right now have become our customers because they really helped us to build the brand, really helped us to improve the product because we would sell samples to them. They would tell us, oh, actually, we like it now, And from there, that is when we started going to the local stores and then slowly into Selfridges. And 2 years ago, we raised our pre-seed investments. Mm-hmm. And that is the only time we go full-time. So after 6 years, that is when we go full-time in the business.
Wow, 6 years. So all through that 6 years, you were bootstrapping the business. You were, was you working part-time and doing the
Absolutely.
business?
Yeah. We were working part-time. So we had to find ways around, to be able to run the business. And obviously we were always looking for jobs that wouldn't stop us from, running the business properly. So we would do night shift. For example, I've worked in night shift hotel. I've done, crazy jobs out there just for me in the day to be able to focus on my business. And then at some point, obviously we realized that, okay, the business was growing so much. We needed to commit all our time in the business, and fortunately, we were able to raise the investments and get full time. Really.
So, did you when you done that transition? So you left with only when you got the investment, right? Because it's the money part. So a lot of people are in the position where they're doing that, they're working and they're doing the business. But some people are like, you know what, I'm just going to leave and take the risk. But there's commitment. And there's a lot of pressure when you do that. What advice would you give to people that are in that kind of transition period? Would you say that they should get that proof of concept that you got and some money behind them first?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say this, we bootstrapped and we raised about £70,000 in grants.
Yeah.
And we never, even with 70,000, we never went full time on the business. Like I could have said, hey, because I'm the CEO, I'll probably go full time first and then my business partner would join after. We really never did that because we knew that the business need a lot of the funds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you spend most of the money into salary, the business will never be able to survive. You have to raise at some point. My advice to those that are in a situation whereby they are thinking about switching into full time, I would say don't do it until you have enough funds to be able to pay yourself properly and to be able also to sustain the business. A lot of founders out there, new founders out there, think, okay, success is overnight. It takes a lot of time. You know, I've seen companies that have raised millions and they go bust within a few months. You know, the craziest I've seen is a company raising about, I think, 40 million and burning that within 4 months or 5 months. It's crazy. Yeah. So startup needs money. It takes time to also, grow the business. It's a long-term game. So instead of just straightforward leaving your job, maybe find a part-time job whereby you'll be able to go back to. And if you have still, until you have got to a point where whether the business sustain itself and can pay you, or you get investments and you'll be able to, stay committed completely to the business. In the meantime, you can still run the business, on a part-time basis, unless the business, there is a breakthrough where the business is selling so much and needs completely your commitment. But I would say, don't leave your job immediately just to jump on the business. It doesn't make sense.
So how did you know when was the right time to get investment? Because some people say, fund it like yourself, do that for a while. And then when you're in the stage when you're ready to really grow, then get an investor. But then some people say, look, if you get an investor, this will allow you to spend like all the time on the business and then you won't have to work in the job and you can just go straight in. So what would you say to that? And what was how did you know it was time for you to get an investor?
Yeah. So the reality is that there is a very little chance, tiny chance to raise investments from investors. Black founders, there is only 1% of Black founders in the UK that gets funds, that get investment. So I feel even very lucky to have, to have raised investment from a venture capitalist. But, already that once you know that, you understand that, okay, it's going to be a long-term game. And again, I'm not saying don't close that door, but at the same time, being realistic with yourself that, look, there's a very slim chance. So for me to be able to survive, it's all about surviving with startup. There is a massive, as they say, there is a massive cemetery of startups out there. Many startups don't make it. The first 2 years, they don't make it. So my advice to everyone is, yes, everybody wants to get into the, full time in their business. And it makes sense because you want to spend all your time to grow the business. But at the same time, investors also understand that for it to be something that an investor will invest in, they want to see traction. They want to see the potential in the market. They want to see that you have gone through that phase that, every startup go through. The first 2 years is hard because you have to get the customers. You have to be able to position yourself in the market. And that is what investors want to see. So if you don't have that, you can't just sell dreams to investors, there is a forecast whereby you can tell investors, hey, in about 5 years, this is what I want to be, which to be honest, I don't even do any more 5 to 10 year forecast anymore. I always go to investors within 3 years, within 2 years, because the rest really is, you are just speculating. But still, I would say, for you to be able to get that investment to go full time, you have to have a strong data that proves that you have been able to, at least break into the market and there is potential. Before our investors invested in us, we spoke with over 1,000 investors.
Wow.
Only two were very interested, and they came in only when the VC invested. And the VC invested because they saw month-to-month growth from our business, from our sales, you know. And you know, the previous month we were selling about over 200 cases. That is about over 1,000 snacks a month. And then the following month, we started growing. We hit 3,000. The following month, we hit about 6,000. So they saw that like, okay, consistent growth makes sense. So take the money. But without that, it's very difficult to just do that. And we wouldn't just jump on full time knowing that you don't have consistent sales, you know?
So how did you, so was Selfridges your first kind of big client that you got? And then did it kind of, how did you get Selfridges? How did that deal come about?
So with Selfridges, we were speaking with them for over a month. We met them initially at a trade show. We went to a trade show and called Balance Festival, and we set up our stands. And the Selfridges buyer came there and like, oh, I really like this. And also we met them in different events. I don't know if you know about the Bread and Jam. It's like an event, a trade show, more like, I would say an event for buyers or for the food industry, people from the food industry to join. It's called Bread and Jam. You pay and you pitch to different buyers. And we met Selfridges. Selfridges selected us to speak with them there. And still, I think after that time, we didn't even get any response for them. They ghosted us for a while. Then we went to do our trade show. The buyer came along, like, oh, I really like this. Cool. We started talking. Then at some point, we started talking with them. Finally, they came back to us. Oh, we love the product. Send us samples again. We sent them samples. At the time, we had only 2 flavors of our apple crepes. So we sent them the apple crepes with mango, apple crepes with coconut. They said they love it, but they feel like we don't have enough flavors. They will love more flavors.
Wow.
Fortunately, we had already developed some flavors, different flavors on standby. And so imagine through all that, it took us about a year before we launched with them, because they almost just said, no, because you don't have flavor. We said, no, wait a minute. We actually have them. We just have to bring them back. So we produced them and send it to them. And they said they love them. And they decided to launch us. So I think we launched in September 2022 or 2023. Anyway, along those ways, that time. And I think at the time we didn't have budgets for marketing, to be honest, because it was our first retailer. So I was thinking about, okay, how can we stand out with a retailer like this if we don't have any budgets for marketing? So we didn't even actually ask them for permission, because I knew what I was about to do. They would say, no, knowing Selfridges, they are very posh, you know. So I said, look, we're going to use some cardboard. We're going to get cardboard, and I'm going to write on it, our marketing budget is so, our marketing budget is low as the calories in our snacks. Buy our snacks so we can do better marketing.
I love that.
And, you know, we went in front of Selfridges, left the cardboard, and we saw that people were watching us and taking videos. I'm like, okay, probably this is very good. So we posted it online, and that exploded.
No.
It exploded. Immediately, it hit, I think we hit over 11,000 likes. And Selfridges wrote us an email. And they are like, guys, like, the Selfridges marketing director wrote us an email. And they're like, well, you know, guys, you should have asked us, because, you know, there is certain guidelines for you to. I responded as well. But then later, they actually started sharing it, because we sold out the first week. A lot of people were going to Selfridges. We sold out completely. And that is when I realized that, as a startup, sometimes you don't have to ask for permission. You can get away with certain things because we are small, So that was our first retailers, and that is how we got it there, really.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's an amazing story. And then how did it go from there? What happened from there? Was it growth? Was you contacting more people directly or going to more events?
Indeed. So we, after Selfridges, we used that opportunity because Selfridges is just, one of the unique, it's very, I would say, chic to have. It's very nice to have Selfridges on board. And what we did is that we used that data as a way to get into other retailers. We tested their customers. And we were selling about 10 snacks a day in Selfridges. So we used that as a way to go to other retailers and tell them, hey, this is what we're selling in Selfridges. We think it's going to work very well with you, basically. And some of them were saying yes. Some of them, they said, we need more data. And then what we did is that we went on Amazon. We had a deal with Amazon. It's called Amazon Vendor. So Amazon will buy our stock as a wholesaler. And we used also that as a way to understand, where the customers that buy our product, we had the QR code behind our snacks. So we will ask questions. Hey, where do you shop normally? Would you like to see us in your local shops? And they would tell us, this is where. So we gather all that data and we use it in our pitch decks. And every week we'll be sending a lot of emails to different buyers. That's how it works. Because sometimes the buyers, it takes when you start a conversation with a buyer, it could take up to 2 years before actually they give you a chance. And sometimes you may talk to them, they will ghost you. At times, some of them, you are talking to them, they may leave their job, and then someone else will come in and the conversation restart from zero. So it's a continuous email conversation. Yeah, that is how we
God. So when we look at the process, how long would you say it took from the product development stage to getting Selfridges, let's say?
Yeah.
What was that? Because you said 6 years, right?
Yeah.
So what was the
product? It took us about 2 years to get the products ready because I think the hardest part was finding a manufacturer.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy. We found one here in the UK, but they were our competitors. And thank God we didn't go with them because with Brexit, exporting from the UK to the EU is a mess.
Yeah.
So the good thing is that we asked them, do you know anybody else? This is one thing I always tell everyone, don't feel shy to ask questions if you are working with manufacturers. Those manufacturers, if they can't work with you, they can always refer you to another one, even if it's their competitor, So this manufacturer was good enough, even if she was our competitor, she was good enough to say, hey, go to this other company in the EU. And we actually, went down there, spoke to them, and we gave them the samples that we did from home. And they were able to do something very close to it. Because, when you're scaling up in the manufacturing, you never get what you did at home. It's completely different. So we did another product development with them. We were able to we were satisfied with what they created. And then that is when we launched in the market. The first year there is also, minimum quantities.
Yeah.
They made us launch about 10,000 units. And we felt that was quite a lot. But then we were able to sell it off the first year. That is when we realized, okay, if we have sold 10,000 units, then we can sell way more. Yeah.
Yeah. Was you when you were in the product stage, how was that? Because, I know for a lot of entrepreneurs in that stage, it's really difficult because you're working hard for such a long period of time and you're not seeing anything come from it. And then you're not making any money and you're just spending money. And I've had a lot of people at that stage. So how do you stay motivated and keep going at that stage when nothing, nothing's materializing, you're not making any profit, but you're just spending at that stage in terms of time and money. So tell me about like that period. How did you keep going?
100%. So I think the main thing is you have to understand that, like I said before, it's a long journey. You are not going to make a profit or money the first few years. It's a battle. It's a big battle. Sometimes you're going to be not motivated. You're going to have your days that you are down. But I think the main important thing is understanding at least your margins and your costs, and knowing that one day you're definitely gonna, you're gonna break even and you're gonna make the profit. But at least setting the foundation right for you to get there in the future is very important. Because so many people make the mistake. For example, we know that at least for us to make a profit one day, is we have to stay at giving 40% margin to at least make 40% margin when we are working with retailers, minimum 30% margin. If we go down below that one, for example, if we produce our snacks and it costs us, let's say, for example, 36p to produce, and then we are selling it at breaking even point, or we are selling it at 46 or 56p, it doesn't make sense. We have to be able to sell it at around 60p or 70p to understand, okay, one day we're going to make that money. Also, everything is economy of scale. You have to understand that the more you produce, the less it costs you to make. So all of that has to be in your mind that, okay, although right now maybe you are producing small quantities and your costs are high, you have to get to that stage whereby, I was talking with another entrepreneur a few days ago, and she was asking me this question, I want to produce for my own kitchen. And so I said, listen, you have to be able to set the foundation right from the beginning. Already speaks with manufacturers. Even if they're going to produce small quantities for you and they're going to cost you more, it's better, because then if you are working with a big retailer, what if a big retailer comes in and say, hey, can I buy this? And I'm producing it from my own kitchen. I can't. You have to make sure you set that one right. So in the beginning, it's tough. You have to realize that and prepare your mindset for it. It's a long journey, It takes time. It takes courage. It takes, you have to be a little crazy. To get things going. A little crazy.
a little crazy. Before you ordered that, so you ordered in bulk, you said 10,000 units, I think it was, that you ordered. Couldn't you have just got a couple of samples and then sold, so got the interest and then put in a bulk order? Couldn't you have just done that, or was it better to do it in the way that you done it?
It's the problem is this, that if you get samples, they may not have. I mean, I will just explain it how. Looking at why we went with the 10,000. So we had let's say everything is high production. Like, you have to produce. The manufacturer needs you to produce a certain quantity for them to make their money. If not, they can't pay their lights bills. So our packaging, it comes in big rolls. For us to be able to produce a certain amount, let's say the minimum quantity was about 5,000 each flavor. We had 2 flavors, so we produced 5,000 and 5,000. But if we produce less, it wouldn't make even sense, because of how much it will cost us. And the manufacturer will never do that. So you have to understand also that some manufacturers, if that was the minimum quantity we had, and also if we wanted to, as you said, if we wanted to produce maybe few ones to send them around, they wouldn't have had, they could do that for us, but it wouldn't have had our finished packaging, like the colorful packaging we had. It would just be the plain ones they have. It doesn't even have shelf life on it. It's more of like samples for you to taste. not really
Yeah,
commercial.
okay.
And if you are sending something to the buyer, you want to send it to, like, you want them to see, to visualize the packaging and have the feeling on how it's going to look on shelf. So that's why, yeah, exactly.
Okay. So you went from Selfridges, you started doing all of this promotion, and then did you get marketing budget? At what point did you start marketing then? Because at the time it seems like you were going to events and you were doing directs, like you were approaching direct by emails and so on. Mm-hmm. At what point did like your full marketing come in?
So I think with Selfridges, we planned a bit ahead because we already knew the launch date. But we didn't work with agencies for marketing. We are very conservative with our money. Agencies cost so much money. Working with companies or maybe getting somebody to come in and do the marketing is funds, and we needed money for production, for inventory. So I decided to take, fully the role of marketing and take care of it. And I mean, I'm passionate about marketing. I love marketing, but I had to learn as well how to get this thing going. So we will go in the shops, do sampling. Most of the time we will sell the whole snacks on the shelf during that day because we will just be doing sampling, and we will take some of the snacks from the shelf and be giving it straight to the customer. They will be like, hey, I love it. I'm like, yeah, here you go, it's £1.20. And they're like, okay, and they'll go and buy it, So that is how we were doing it. And then at some point, I think after 2 years, we started then sending people down there to do the sampling for us because we were too busy. So we would get people that would just go there, do the sampling for us for a few days, and then we will be focusing on being an entrepreneur. But initially, we would just be doing them ourselves just to save money, really.
Wow. And during this period, from the startup to the growth stage, I know you mentioned challenges like with your first company. Mm-hmm. Have there been any challenges with this company where you thought, oh, I can't do this. This is like too much. Has there ever been anything like that? And if so, like what happened and how did you overcome that and continue?
Yeah, I mean, with Gusto Snacks, we have had a lot of challenges. There were times where we were running so low with money. We thought, oh my God, this is just the end. But then we put in, when things get harder, we were putting in more effort. Sometimes, it happens that some entrepreneur, it gets difficult. That is when they just give up. Oh man, that is done. But, we always keep, and for some reason, it pays off. We have had very tight situations whereby, we run out of money. And then because we put in all the efforts and, it's also strategically, how do you make sure that you are able to make the right decisions during that time? When the business is running you insane, how can you stay calm and, make the right decision that would then benefit the business? Yeah, we have had, and I think me and my business partner, that's why I always say, find the right business partner. Me and him, we are just, okay, I'm the CEO, but he can easily be the CEO as well because he represents the business so well. We are both passionate about the business. So he puts in 100%, I put in 100%. We both know where we're going. We both believe. We are crazy about the business. Yeah, and that is really what, the game changer, I think.
Yeah. Did you have to, so building up into entrepreneurship, so a lot of people had to make a lot of sacrifices and life changes and, not going out so much and doing certain things. How did that look for you in terms of like your mindset and the sacrifices that you kind of have to make this business work?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say if you're not ready to make sacrifices, then don't run a startup because it really takes a lot out of you, like a lot. I'm married. I have a son as well. And I'm fortunate to have somebody who understands that, hey, sometimes, we're not gonna go out for a dinner. that is how it is. Sometimes, you're going to have those times where it's going to be a tough time. But then, there is, it's not always like that. But at the same time, having somebody who understands the journey and they also able to support me knowing where I'm going with this is a game changer.
Yeah.
And I always talk about my wife on LinkedIn as well. I always do that because, people need to understand that you have to have the right people around you, the right mindset, right people around you, and also understand yourself. Can you make the right, is it for you? I think there is so much out there about, be an entrepreneur. Like I was saying before, you have to have something that is not working here for you to.
Yeah.
You have to be you have to be a little crazy for you to be an entrepreneur. And if you feel like you fall into that group of people who are a little crazy, then do it. But it's not for everybody. And it's okay to say, hey, it's not for me. I prefer my stable job. I prefer going to my holidays. I prefer, being, having good times and, traveling and stuff like that. Because, man, I miss those times. I do. I'm not going to lie. I do miss those times whereby you want to have some extra for you to enjoy and not even be thinking about on the Monday and somebody messing up with your delivery,
Yes.
But again, I think I will not have it any other way because it's something I'm enjoying as well. I've learned so much from this experience, I've had very difficult times, but I've had some amazing times whereby I've learned so much. And this kind of learning would have never come to me if I didn't push myself into building a business.
Yeah. And so one of the things I want to ask you, because a lot of people that write into the show, they always say, how do people overcome fear and self-doubt? Because they want to start a business, but they're so scared. They don't know whether it's going to work or not. And obviously there's competition out there as well. So it's like, oh my gosh, So what advice would you give to people? And did you experience that fear, that self-doubt, looking at other competitors? And how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I would say, look, there is nothing new under the sun. If you look at the big companies, Nike, is it the only one making shoes?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. If you look at, many of the business out there, even Apple, are they the only one making phones? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yet they are so innovative. So it's all about how you go out there and make things. We make apple crepes. Are we the only one making dried fruits? No. But yet, you were so interested in my story and I'm talking to you about my business,
Yeah.
So it's really how you go out there and make things different and tell about your story and share your story. People really connect with people. It's never about just the business, and I would say from my own experience, I'm someone who just do it. I just don't even think twice about things because once I do that, I will never do it when I overthink things. I remember when I launched a campaign. So one of the biggest health stores in the UK. I'm not mentioning the name just for legal stuff. One of the biggest health store in the UK copied our products, and I told myself, I'm going to go out there and dress like a thief and then go in front of their shops and, compare my products with their customers, get them to vote for me and then challenge them and see what happens.
Yeah.
I didn't even overthink it. I just went to do it, posted it online, and the thing exploded. Over 70,000 likes, At some point, so many retailers reached out. Waitrose reached out. Dubai retailers reached out. So many retailers reached out. Yeah, the brand we sold over £60,000 worth of snacks organically because of that post. And that made me understand that sometimes you just have to just go out there and just do what comes in your mind. You know what I mean? So my advice to people who are feeling scared is, and once you start doing it, you realize that it's actually not that bad. When I'm going to do public speaking, especially, I always feel very nervous.
Yeah.
Even before coming on these shows, I was feeling a bit nervous, like, oh my God, maybe I'll say something that's right. But I always say yes. And once I start, people are always telling me, oh, but you don't look like you are anxious.
No, not at all.
And I'm like, trust me, I do feel very anxious.
Not at all. You wouldn't think it at all.
Exactly. But then because once you start doing it, you realize that, oh, wow, actually, I'm saying the right stuff. Actually, it's not that bad. And you keep learning from it.
Yeah.
And, everybody sucks at something. Everybody, nobody have done something for the first time that they were so good at it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to start that way and you keep improving as you're going,
Yeah. So a couple more questions, because I want to ask you about, because this is a little bit different in terms of like a direction that you went into your business. So you started selling to companies like Google, and they were in offices. Yeah. And I used to train for Google, so I've been in the offices and seen, the selection. So how did you do that? How did that come about?
Yeah, so we started working with a distributor actually, who had contacts with all of these offices. I think we launched with them in over 70 offices or so. And they just came to us and said, hey guys, there is these offices that love your product. They sent few samples around initially.
Yeah.
And then they came back saying that the products were amazing, and if we want to launch them, we say yeah. We launched them, they went, but the only difficult thing about these offices is that sometimes because there is a middleman, which is a distributor, at times it's so difficult to get in touch directly with them. Sometimes it's fear that you may bypass them to go and work with them directly. At times you want to do sampling to increase sales, and it's difficult. The communication is difficult. Distributors at times, that's the crazy thing. They don't even show you the customers sometimes, But we knew that, we knew about this one because obviously Google, Facebook, all of these places is a very special place. So they just told us, hey, this is the caliber of offices that we are sending your product. And we're able to, really work with them very well and get things done.
And do you sell through your website? Do you have the website and you sell through there?
Yeah, we do. We actually launch on the website. We do sell there, but direct to consumer is very cash intensive. Like it needs a lot of money to be able to run it. Working B2B with business to business is much more easier, because when you sell directly to the retailer, they already have their customers on the shop floor. So we started with that initially, and that is now that we are working on our store, which we have made quite great sales from our website. But that is because now we are really using social media, TikTok, LinkedIn, and all of that to be able to get people to go on our website. Every time I post on LinkedIn, somebody always go and buy my products from my website. So, that is why we're doing it. But I would say, when I'm advising anybody out there who want to launch on their website, just understand that it's very capital intensive, and it's always best to start with working with the retailers, and then slowly you get people to know your brand, and then try and go to them. Try and target them through your website, basically, because obviously when people know your product, then you understand it. For example, Amazon. We launched on Amazon. People know our product. Now they do come on our website directly to buy because it's cheaper for them.
Yeah. So you've just kind of gone into the last one, but I've got a last question for you, but it's a two-part question. So what advice would you give to people that want to do exactly what it is that you do, want to get into what it is that you're doing. Mm-hmm. That's the first part of the question. The second part is, what advice would you give to people that want to start their own business, but, you know, they have a lot of fear, they've got a bit of self-doubt, they're working, don't know how to transition. So if you could just give like some advice to our audience on those two questions, that would be brilliant. So first part is doing what it is that you do.
Yeah. So, I mean, to do what we do, especially getting into food business, start from home, you know. That is the easiest way to really start. Like that is what many of my colleagues in the food industry did. They started from home, bought few equipments to start small. Test it with family and friends because they're gonna lie to you that it's nice.
It's beautiful. It's all positive. You're like, okay, no, give me some real
exactly. Feedback, you know? Then you're gonna be like, oh, they told me my brand is nice, but nobody's buying it. Well, there is a reason because they are lying to you.
Exactly. You know? That is really good advice.
Look for people you don't know. Go to events. Connect with people you don't know. Go on the streets of London. Get people, you'll be so amazed that people will just taste the product, you know. And then understand your industry, you know, your competitors. What are others doing out there that you could make it a little different? You know, we do dried fruits, but at the same time, we brought in something different, which is, you know, we made it very crunchy, but at the same time, we brought in crazy flavors, you know, that are not in the market. And that really played a big role for us. So always understand, if you're going in the food industry, what is it that you want to create? It may be already out there, but how can you do it differently? You know, as I've said, there is nothing, you know, new under the sun. But the way you do it and, you know, the way you have to be creative.
Yeah.
As the more creative you are, the better, really.
Yeah. Great. And then what advice would you give to people that want to start a business, but they have a lot of fear, a lot of self-doubt, they're in a job, they don't know how to translate? Like, what advice would you give to those people?
Yeah, I would say it takes a bit of sacrifice, you know, to get somewhere. If you're doing your 9 to 5, you know, dedicate time to the business when you come back from work. You know, the business needs a little bit of your attention. It doesn't need all your attention in the beginning, but, you know, little steps in the long run, you know, creates the bigger picture. You know, I remember I was reading a poem called The Little Things, which there was this quote that says, you know, little drops of water makes a mighty ocean, which makes you understand the importance of, you know, taking the small steps, which in the long run always, you know, makes something bigger. So I would say my advice is always, look, you don't have to start from go 0 to 100 straight up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
If within a year, when you're doing your job and you come back, dedicate, even if it's 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day, you know, that you are dedicating a small time to your dream or to something, you will see that within a year you have accomplished so much. And that is what takes you to start big. So never leave your job completely initially, and just do it. Just do it. That's all I will say. You know, I started my first business, failed. Then I just started the second one. I just literally, one day I just started in front of the computer and said, okay, round 2, right now, let's go for round 2. So that is how it has to be. The fear is going to be there. I've been running this business for 6 years. I'm not going to tell you that I still have fear in doing certain things. Yeah. But I do it scared. I still do it scared. I will still do it anyway. You can never say you're not going to experience fear. It's going to be there. But those that do things while they are still scared are the ones that, you know, make it out of, you know, of the difficult situations. So just do it, really.
Just do it. But that is amazing. We have come to the end now, but you have been incredible. Your advice, you're going to help so many people with this. That was incredible. And I just want to Thank you for laying it all out and being so honest and coming on the show. You've been incredible.
Oh, thank you so much. I enjoyed the chat, really.
Good. So thank you and have an amazing afternoon and good luck with everything.
You too. Thank you so much and have an amazing day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.